Hello, this is Angelia, and you are listening to or watching the podcast, Why You Do What You Do. The podcast that talks about human development and psychology to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. You might have noticed that I have shrunk it some on some things. And basically this is, based on the time I have to do things, and so I'm putting it in smaller, bite-sized chunks for some folks. Someone told me it was a lot of information at once. So I'm basically dealing with one topic, at a time. And so, it might be shorter one day and longer the next. It just depends on, how long the section I'm dealing with is. So, today, last time we talked about neurological changes. It's going to happen to us. If you live long enough, you're going to get those. But today we're talking about metamemory, the view from within. So, you might not know what a metamemory, is, but it's the overall memory. I'm less efficient at something and remembering things now than I used to be. I have little control over my memory. I am just as good at remembering as I ever was. These items and responses come from the Metamemory in Adulthood, or it's known as the MIA, a questionnaire designed to measure metamemory, beliefs or knowledge about how memory works. So, it's in the psychological world called the MIA. Of course, we know that in the military world that means something totally different. People want to assume things about your memory's age. And that's not true for everybody. Older adults taking the MIA report more perceived changes in memory. That means they think their memory is not as good. Less memory capacity, meaning they can't remember as much. And I've been experiencing that since I got in my 50s, however many years ago that was, more than a few. But I complained to my father, who's 84, I'm starting to forget stuff. And he's like, well, you're just now catching up with the rest of us. Because that's one of the things I was known for is the memory. Whenever we had the, years ago, I don't know if any of you all, had the games where, you test your memory and knowledge and things like that. And, whenever they saw someone, who is that? What was that? Who was that? What was they in? And they would usually ask me, it used to be going on here, but I've noticed there's slippage. Used to be I could remember everything I needed for a day to remember, but now it's like I find myself making lists, because if I don't, one or two things might slip. Usually one, but sometimes more depending on the day. And less control over their memory than young adults do. And again, as I say, it happens to all of us if you live long enough. Some people don't have to worry about that, and, it's unfortunate if they go before they have to worry about that, really, in my opinion. But, excuse me. This is what happens when you make videos after you eat lunch. But young folks are usually pretty good. And if they're not, you might want to go to the doctor and talk to them about that. However, these perceptions may, at least in part, reflect stereotyped expectations of memory loss in old age. Because a lot of people just assume it's going to get worse. So they disregard any memory losses like, I'm getting old. But it could be something else. It could be a physical thing. It could be a mental thing. So don't just assume you're getting forgetful because you're getting old. When asked for a blanket assumption of their own memory, older adults are likely to claim that it has deteriorated. And, most folks do that. My own father says he can't remember. So, like I said, we're all getting older and stuff's happening. But when it comes to specific items or tasks, older adults are about as accurate as younger adults in judging their feeling of knowing or estimating how well they have done. because we all kind of have an idea of how well we think we did, and what we know basically, and so we can guesstimate, about that. This and other research suggests that older adults' complaints about their memory may be unrelated to their objective performance, because they expect to be forgetful, so they don't try as hard, and they like, I can't remember that. But However, this conclusion does not consider individual differences, because everybody's different, and some people are more negative than others, and some people are more positive than others. So your outlook has a lot to do with how well you're going to age. If you have a positive outlook, your old age is going to be happier versus someone who's negative, and they're going to be unhappier. And I'm seeing that. I worked in a nursing home for 2 years, so I saw that when I worked there. And now my mother-in-law's in one, and you can see that with those folks too. The ones who have a negative attitude and sit in their room in the dark, and don't get involved in anything or do anything, are like, oh, my life is terrible, I'm in jail, it sucks, no one, well, and then the folks who get involved, who go play bingo and do art and crafts and go out on the little bus and go to places, they're much happier, they have a much better time. So it's your own decision, that makes or breaks your life. It really is. So everybody's different, and if you expect that you're going to get old and lose your memory, then you might be making a self-fulfilling prophecy there. An older person who once had an outstanding memory may well be aware of a loss not detectable by comparison with the norm. And like I said, that was me, and I told my dad, I said, man, I'm forgetting stuff. And he's like, well, you're just catching up with everybody else. And I'm like, well, I don't like it. A study that did take account of this factor finds a modest link between memory complaints and objective performance. So there is some evidence that, older folks do start losing their memory, and in testing it does show in some people that they are losing their memory, but not for everybody. So, if you think this is a problem, you can ask to take the MIA, or the Metamemory in Adulthood test. It's a questionnaire designed to measure various aspects of adults' metamemory, including beliefs about their own memory and the selection and use of strategies for remembering. It's like we were talking about the other day, the mnemonics, the little list. And like if I have to remember a number, I'll do the 222, tie your shoe. If there's an important number I have to remember. So there are ways to help yourself remember things. So keep that in mind. And like I say, there's no shame if you think you need help on something. There's no shame in reaching out. There really is not. It's only going to help you. So I hope that helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. So that's where I'm going to leave you for today, with thinking about metamemory, the view from within. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. Thanks for watching. That's all for now. Until next time.